The beds may not be made. There may be dishes to do. But just relax and wait till our show is through. Watch Card Sharks. And here's the host of Card Sharks, Jim Perry.
Hi, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much, and welcome to Card Sharks. Thank you for joining us. And the opening poem sent in by Mrs. Dick Rosenquist of Shickley, Nebraska, watches us on KHAS-TV Channel 5. Thank you, Mrs. Rosenquist. Now let's open the board and get to the cards. Janice and Autumn, if you will, start loading in the cards. We'll meet our Card Sharks. Phyllis Harris, our champion. Hi, Phyllis.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to
Won't
see
you
you.
again remind us about yourself?
Well, my name's Phyllis Harris, and I'm from Fair Lawn, New Jersey. I'm about 20 minutes from New York City, the Big Apple, and I really love it, and I'm loving it here.
Well, I don't say as I blame you, because you've won one game and $5,450 in cash. $5,500 actually, with $100 for the last game. Susan Holzschlag, our challenger. Hi, Susan.
Hi,
nice
Jim.
to see you. And
Thank you.
again, yay for Susan as well. Won't you remind us about yourself?
Sure. I'm Susan Holzschlag. Grew up in Tucson, Arizona. Lived in San Francisco last couple years. And I'm the singing secretary. I type during the day, and I was a cabaret singer at night. And just moved to Santa Monica.
Did you bill yourself as the singing secretary, Susan?
I got a reputation for that, yes.
Sounds like a good billing. Nice to have you both back. Now, you cut the cards before we started the match?
Yes, we did.
And we'll pick up where we left off. We play the best two games out of three, and as I said, Phyllis, the champion, won game number one. We're in the middle of game two, and as we look at the board, Phyllis has moved over with a 5 as her base card, needing 3 cards. Susan, the challenger, with a 1-card advantage, has a 6, needing only 2, and that could be important because as we left off, we're in sudden death. Someone has to win it with this play of the cards. Susan, as we left off, the question goes to you.
Okay.
And Susan, we asked 100 bachelors, have you ever wined and dined a girl so much that by the time you got her home, she was too stuffed and too drowsy to fool around? How many bachelors said, yeah, that's happened to them?
Unfortunately, I think that does happen a lot. Overindulgence is a big problem. I think it's kind of high, probably 65.
65 out of 100. Higher or lower,
Okay.
Phyllis?
I think that sometimes that's happened also, but I don't think it's going to be quite that high. I'll have to say lower.
Lower.
Yeah.
Oh, the audience doesn't agree. Well, this will decide
well.
control of the board. The actual number of bachelors who've wined and dined a girl too much is 41. Phyllis is right, it's lower.
And
Now, Phyllis, it is sudden death. You have a 5 and need 3 cards. Susan with a 6 needs 2. You've got control. Play it or pass it?
you have it.
You're going to pass it.
Okay.
Susan, that means if you can turn them both over, you win the game and tie up the match. But if you make one mistake, Phyllis has the championship with a 6. What's this?
Okay, I'm gonna say higher.
Higher than a 6. No, it's higher. Phyllis wins it in sudden death. Well, with 1 card, Phyllis wins it. Susan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jim.
And good luck with your singing in Santa Monica. Susan Holzschlag. Phyllis, come on down here. And once again, Phyllis Harris wins it. And, of course, 200 in the game. You're up to $5,650. It was worth spending part of your vacation here with us, huh?
Sure was.
Did you plan on coming down to join us when you came out from Fair Lawn, New Jersey, or just on the spur of the moment?
Well, I read it in the Hollywood Reporter and Variety when I was here, and I figured, why not? And I just came out.
Why not has paid off so far. Now, before we went on the air, you cut the money cards in the event you should win.
That's
Yes?
right, I did.
Then let's get to the money cards right now. Phyllis, come on up here. And Janice and Autumn will start dealing them out. $200 of new money on the bottom line and 3 cards to bet as you will. Move up to the second level. We'll add another $200 of betting money and 3 more cards. Your minimum bets, remember, $50 till you get to the top card, the big bet. There you must risk at least half the money.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Here's $200. And you can change that base card on each of the 3 levels if you need to, Phyllis. We'll start you off with $200 and a 10.
Oh, I don't like that 10. I'm changing it, please.
Now, you must play this. The next card off the top of the deck, a king.
Okay. All of it
The
lower.
whole thing, $200 that this card is lower than a king. It is.
Hey! 200 higher.
$200 higher than a 4. Yes,
Hey!
a 5.
$100 higher than a 5.
$100 higher than a 5. She's right again. $700 as we move up the 8. We'll give you the other
Please change
$200.
that card for me.
With $900 as she moves up, she can change it. The 8 becomes a king
good.
again.
All of it lower than the king.
Double or nothing for $1,800 lower. Yes.
Yes. Okay. $800. No. 600 lower than the
the jack.
Big bet on the jack. Is she right? $600 lower. No. All right, you still have 2 cards to go, and you still have $1,200, Phyllis.
Okay, I'm going to say 200 lower than the jack.
Let's see if we can get a better card. $200 lower than a jack.
All
Oh, that's a great card.
I want that card.
And we move up that great card for the big bet.
All of it, higher than the 2.
Double or nothing for $2,800. Higher. It is $2,800. Way to go. Just that one double hurt you, but you did well. Oh, yes. And with that 200 in the game, you've added a lot more. Phyllis, you're up to $8,450 in cash.
That's great.
Phyllis Harris will meet a new challenger right after this commercial break. Way to go. All right, Phyllis, Janice is dealing out 2 brand new decks of cards. And I won't tell her how to do that as I tell her how to write. Here's a new challenger already out here. He's in a hurry. Mark Beatty. Hello, Mark.
Nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Why don't you tell us something about yourself?
I'm Mark Beatty. I'm a native Texan and proud of it. I go to the University of Texas Law School, and I work in the Texas House of Representatives. And contrary to popular opinion, I don't own an oil well.
Not all Texans are rich, huh?
No, it's surprising, isn't it?
We're happy to have you here with us. You
Thank
got your
you.
cards?
I did.
Then good luck. We will start the best 2 out of 3 with a question to the champion. Phyllis, the question to you. We asked 100 second grade kids, have you ever thought that the boogeyman was going to get you? How many second graders have thought, yeah, the boogeyman was going to get them? You've all heard about the boogeyman when you were a kid?
When I was in 2nd grade, all the older kids used to tell me, oh, you better hurry along because the boogeyman's going to come after you. I'd have to say that's a pretty high number. I'd say about 70.
70 out of 100. They're afraid the boogeyman was going to get them, Mark.
I'm 23 years old, and I still think the boogeyman's going to get me sometimes. And so in 2nd grade, I sure did. I'm going to go higher than
Even
that.
higher than that. Well, the actual number of second graders who thought the proverbial boogeyman was going to get them is 33. Not higher, it's lower.
Okay.
Phyllis.
Let's have a good one.
Phyllis wants a good one. Is she going to get it? She is not
Oh, no,
tonight.
change that card, please.
Changing it to a jack.
All right, lower than the jack.
Lower than the jack, a 5.
Okay. Higher than the 5.
Higher than the 5, a 6.
I'm going to freeze at the 6.
Move over the freeze bar and protect that position. And Mark, here's your first question. Mark, we asked 100 people. Would you approve of a public service draft that required all 18-year-olds to spend 2 years working to improve the country? How many people would approve of a 2-year public service draft for 18-year-olds?
I don't know. I think most people, especially in Texas, conservative state, I think most people are really sold on the free enterprise system, and I'd say that's a fairly low number. Let's say 24.
24 out of 100 would approve of a public service draft.
Well, I think that to help clean up and do everything like that, I think it would be higher than that because people want to see a clean United States.
So you say higher. The actual number of people who'd approve of a public service draft for 18-year-olds is 40. It is much higher.
Okay,
Phyllis.
and change that 6.
You know, when they were drafting me, it wasn't for public service. Phyllis wants to get rid of the 6, and it becomes a queen.
Okay, lower than the queen.
Lower than the queen, a 6 again.
Oh, I'm going to freeze.
Not going to take a chance on that last card. That forces Mark to win a question if he's going to get a crack at it. Phyllis, we found 100 people who have been fired from their job. And we asked them, if the man who fired you came to you and needed a job, and he was the best qualified person for it, would you hire him? How many people would hire the very man who had fired them?
Well, most people don't believe that they should have been fired, so I'm going to have to say that's a pretty low number. I have to say only about 25.
25 out of 100 would hire the man who fired them if he was the best qualified.
I don't know. I've got a little bit more faith in people than that. I think that they'd be a little bit more objective, and I'll say higher.
Higher.
A little bit higher.
The actual number of people who would hire the man who fired them is 48. Mark is right.
All right.
And now he gets a look at his base card. And Mark has a 4.
4. Okay, I'm going to keep it, and I'll go higher.
Higher than a 4. A 5.
Okay. I'm going to go higher.
He's taking a risk. Is he right? No, a 3 is not higher. Back to the base card, giving Phyllis a free chance to call off the 6
Well,
for the
I'm
game.
going to have to go with the odds here, and I'm going to have to say higher than that
If it's
6.
higher, Phyllis has the win number 1. No.
Oh.
No, she couldn't do it. Janice will fill in the spaces, setting up sudden death. And again, someone's going to win it right now. Mark, we found 100 unmarried couples who are living together. And we asked them, Has a landlord ever refused to rent to you because you were not married? How many unmarried couples said a landlord did refuse to rent to them because they were living together out of wedlock?
I don't know. In today's day and age, it's a more liberalized society, and I would think that that'd be a fairly low number. I'm going to say 21.
Mark says 21 out of 100 have met that resistance.
No, well, I think that people still kind of look down upon it just a little. And I have to say it's a little bit higher than that.
Higher. This decides control, and the actual number of unmarried couples who were refused an apartment because they were living together out of wedlock is 8. It is not higher.
Yes.
Mark gets control.
Okay.
Well, Mark, you've got control, but you're faced with an interesting problem because with a good base card of 4, you've got to go all the way with 4 cards. Phyllis, near the middle with a 6, needs only 1. What are you going to do? Play it or pass it?
Even though Phyllis only needs 1 more card, I'm going to have to pass it.
So it comes down to this,
Okay.
Phyllis. Call it right, you win. Call it wrong, and you lose.
It didn't work before, but I'm going to have to go again and say higher with that 6.
Higher than a 6. It is higher. Phyllis wins it. Mark, you really had a tough situation there. So it's game 1 of the champion, and Mark will try to make a comeback right after this commercial break. Game 1 of the champion, and now as Janice deals out the same 2 decks of cards with the next cards off the top of the deck, we start game 2 with a question to you, Phyllis. Phyllis, we asked 100 pediatricians, have you ever been bitten by one of your patients? How many children's doctors have been bitten by one of their patients?
My brother used to bite the doctor, so I'll have to say that's a pretty high number. I'm going to say 65.
65 out of 100 pediatricians have been bitten by a patient.
I'd like to know if you asked my pediatrician, because I could go for multiple bites, I think. But I think that would be... I think that's got to be lower than 65. I think they have a little bit more control over them. I'll say lower.
What you were saying with yours is that you literally attacked.
Yes.
Huh? Not
yes.
just a bite.
Really
a lot
went
of
at
bites.
him.
The actual number of pediatricians who've been bitten by a patient is 50. It is
Yes,
lower.
okay.
Mark gets it. And Mark has some catching up to do, and he starts with a 5.
5. I'm gonna go with it and go higher.
He's going to play it. Higher? He's right with a 6.
6. I'm gonna freeze. I'm just gonna
And
freeze.
we take the 1 card advantage, and the question goes to you, Mark. Mark, we asked 100 married women. Does your husband take you for granted? How many women said, yeah, their husband does take them for granted?
Well, I think that's probably a fairly common occurrence. I know a lot of the girls that I take out think that I take them for granted. I'll say that that's fairly common, and I'll say it's 64.
64 out of 100 say their husband takes them for granted.
Oh, I'm not even married. My boyfriend sometimes takes me for granted. I'm going to even have to go higher than 64.
Higher than 64. Higher, very high numbers. I would never do a thing. I said to what's her name the other night? Mark says 64. Phyllis says higher. The actual number of women whose husband takes them for granted is 65. By 1, it is higher. Phyllis.
Okay, let's
And now we'll see what you have as a base card. An 8.
Oh, no, please change that 8.
Getting rid of the 8. Put an
All
ace.
right, lower than the 8.
Lower than the ace. Another 8.
I'm going to freeze.
We've got a tie now as we move over the freeze bar, and question 3 goes to you, Phyllis. Phyllis, we asked 100 New York City policemen. Should pornographic magazines be banned from public newsstands? How many New York City policemen said pornographic magazines should be banned from newsstands?
Well, I don't think the policemen would think they should be, because it's a public place. I don't think so anyway. I'm going to have to say that's a pretty low number. I'll say only about 27.
27 out of 100 say they should ban them.
I think that policemen in New York have a lot worse things to think about than pornographic literature, so I'm going to say it's even lower.
Even lower than that. Oh, the audience does not agree at all. If you've made your decision at home, we'll find out. The actual number of policemen who said pornographic magazines should be banned is 42, not lower. It is higher.
Change
Phyllis.
that 8, please.
I'd rather say only 42, and the rest of them subscribe. Phyllis, you've got an 8. Changing it to a queen.
Good. That's a good card. Lower.
Lower than a queen, a 6.
Oh, I'm going to freeze. I'm going to freeze at the 6.
Move over the freeze bar. Phyllis needs 2 cards. Mark needs 3. And again in a close match where it's sudden death. Mark, we asked 100 people. Have you ever paid a surprise visit to some friends only to discover they were having a party that you were not invited to? How many people said that's happened to them?
Well, maybe I hang around a fairly boring crowd, but the people I hang around with don't throw very many parties. So I wouldn't think that it would happen that much. I'll say 20.
20 out of 100 have. Continental party they weren't invited to.
Well, even people, most of my friends who threw parties and I was invited, they wouldn't be my friends anymore. So I'm going to have to go lower than that.
Lower than that. The actual number of people who've discovered their friends were having a party they weren't invited to is 14.
Okay.
Phyllis is right. It's lower.
Okay. Oh,
Phyllis,
is that
again, it's
it?
sudden death. You can play it or
It's
pass it.
Mark.
All right, Mark, you got the pressure on you. You need 3 cards to tie it up. If you make one mistake, she has the championship with a 6. What's
I'll
this?
have to go with the odds and have to go higher.
He says higher. He's right with a 9.
Middle card again. I'm going to have to go lower.
Lower than a 9. He's right with a 5. 1 to go.
This is driving me crazy. I'm going to go with the odds again and say higher.
Higher than a 5? No! The last card, Mark could not do it. And Phyllis wins it in sudden death. Mark, you got so close.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. Thanks for joining us. Mark Beatty. Phyllis, come on down here. And Phyllis Harris wins again. She loves it, and she's going to have another crack at the big money, but we're going to take time out for a commercial message right now. There we go. We are back with our champion, and Phyllis, you know how to play the money cards.
I sure do.
So they have been dealt out in front of our studio audience.
Okay.
Good luck. You're doing well.
you.
Let's keep it up. Here's
Okay.
$200. And again, that reminder that you can change the base card if you need to. $200, and Phyllis will start with a 10.
Oh, change that card.
You've made good changes before. Can she do it again? A 4.
Okay.
Good card.
I'm going to bet $100 higher than the 4.
Half the money, $100, that this is higher. It is.
I'm only going to bet $50 lower.
$50, lower than a 10. Yes,
Okay.
on a 3.
I'm going to bet all of it higher than the 3.
$350 higher than a 3.
Yes! Oh, and change that 8, please.
Why are you in a hurry, Phyllis? She doesn't even want me to get this up here. First, I'll get it up. Let me give you $2 more before I change it.
Okay.
All right? Now you got $900, and now we'll change it. Come on, make a good change. 6, a little better.
$100 higher than the 6.
$100 higher than a 6. Yes,
Oh,
right
I don't
again.
like that 9.
But you're up to
I'm only going to go
$1,000.
$100 lower than the 9.
$100 lower than a 9.
Oh.
First one that hurt
That's
you.
okay, but I'm going to say $200 lower than a jack.
$200 lower than a jack. Yes!
Yes, okay.
We move up the 5. You got $1,100. Do you want that 5?
Change it, please.
Oh, I'd love to see a good change. Come on, for Phyllis.
All right. I'm going to go $700 lower than the queen.
$700 that this card is lower than the queen. No! But you didn't get carried away. You've got a lot of winnings, but you held back beautifully. So that's another $400, $200 in the game. That's $600. Phyllis, come on down. Yeah, it's so easy to get carried away when you've got winnings, but you played very well, and you now have $9,050 in cash. We'll be back with this fine champion right after this. Cut card. That eight's coming up there. Cut card. Back with our champion, Phyllis Harris, nearing the $10,000 mark. Janice is dealing out 2 brand new decks of cards. Time to meet a new challenger on Card Sharks, Mickey Ferguson. Hello, Mickey.
Hello, Jim.
Nice to have you here. We're running out of time, but
Wonderful
we
to
wanted
be
to get
here.
you started, so won't you give us your name and where you're from?
Mickey Ferguson, and I am living in Southern California very recently from Akron, Ohio.
Delighted to have you here, and you've cut
Thank
the
you.
cards, of course.
Yes, I have.
And here we go. We'll get into the match with a question to Phyllis. Phyllis, we surveyed 100 prison inmates. These are all men who are currently serving time in San Quentin prison. And we asked them, have you ever gotten away with a major crime? How many inmates claim they have gotten away with a major crime? Quickly
Well,
now.
only about 1 out of 10 go to court and only 1 out of 10 get processed. So I say a high number. I'd have to say about 70.
70. Higher or lower, Mickey?
I would say it's higher.
Even higher than
Yes.
that. The actual number of inmates who've gotten away with a major crime is 66.
Okay.
Not higher. Phyllis was very
Okay.
close. And Phyllis gets to start off the match with a 6.
Oh, change it, please.
Changing the 6 to a king.
Lower than the king.
Lower than a king, a 4.
Higher than the 4.
Higher than the 4, a 6.
Freeze out of 6.
And as we move over the freeze bar, just like that, the champion has a 2-card advantage, and that's about all the time we have for now. Mickey, we want to find out a lot more about you on our next show, okay?
Very
But
good.
we did want to get you into the game. And we'll see you, I hope, on our next Card Sharks. Bye-bye for now.
The season of giving isn't just for the living. It's a one-night festival of frights. As the Suska twins give the gift of gore in the Elevator season finale.
This is going going to be a good night.
Take a sleigh ride down to Jingle Hell. Watch the Hellevator season finale tonight at 8/7 Central, only on GSN.